In this video, you're going to find out why China just extended an olive branch to Canada right as tensions with the United States has hit a boiling point. You'll see exactly what the Chinese ambassador to Canada said in a rare public statement, what it really means for the Canadian economy, and how this move could reshape Canada's trade position between Washington and Beijing. And you'll also start to find out why this time, coming just days after Donald Trump raises tariffs on Canada by another 10%, and as US Ambassador Pete Hoekstra pressurizes Ottawa to stay in line, might be one of the most important diplomatic moments for Canada in years. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about EVs and canola. It's about whether Canada can still act independently in a world being split between two superpowers. So let's break down exactly what happened, what's at stake, and why this quiet message from Beijing could mean far more than it seems. Hello everyone, welcome back. It's that time of year. The colors are changing, the seasons are shifting, and so is Canada's position on the global chessboard. Because while most people were distracted by headlines south of the border, something big just happened in Canada's relationship with China, and it came directly from the Chinese ambassador to Canada, Mr. D. Wang. The timing of his message and what he said are both incredibly important. Now, to understand why, we've got to look at what's happening around us. Just this week, Donald Trump escalated his trade war rhetoric, threatening 100% tariffs on all Chinese imports. Yes, 100% tax. And almost instantly, Beijing fired back with new retaliatory measures. Tensions between Washington and Beijing are spiking again. And in the middle of all this, China is quietly sending a very different kind of message to Canada. They're offering an olive branch. And this comes just as US Ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, has been pressing Ottawa to stay in lockstep with Washington's trade stance, especially on electric vehicles and national security. So the timing here isn't random. China's message to Canada isn't just about EVs or canola. It's about testing whether Ottawa is ready to act as an independent economic player or stay tethered to Washington and Trump's orbit. So here's what happened. The Chinese ambassador, speaking in an exclusive interview with CTV's Question Period, said this, and I quote, "If Canada removes the unilateral, unjustified tariffs on Chinese products, China will also reciprocate accordingly. If EV tariffs are removed, and then China will remove tariffs on relevant products of Canada. In other words, you lift your EV tariffs and we'll lift ours on canola." That might sound simple, but the implications are massive. For those not following every detail, last October, after pressure from the US to toe the line, Canada slapped a 100% tariff on Chinese-made EVs after the US did the same. Ottawa called it a national security move. They also added 25% tariffs on Chinese steel and aluminium. Beijing responded with tariffs of its own, 100% on Canadian canola oil and 75.8% on canola seed. That move crushed Canada's canola exports overnight. China was the biggest customer, and with tariffs that high, they just turned to someone else. And now, for the first time in months, China's saying we're ready to reverse this. Only if you are. We're building something special here, a growing independent community of people who believe in informed debate, real dialogue, and standing up for democratic values like those that are upheld in beautiful Canada. Values in a time when they're being tested everywhere. Your support doesn't just grow this channel, it strengthens a movement. Every comment, every share, every voice here adds weight to the idea that even though dictators like Trump are in power, citizens can still shape the global conversation. Now, back to why this moment right now matters for Canada. Because here in North America, we've gotten used to politics that unfold on social media, one tweet at a time. But Beijing doesn't operate that way. They don't wing it every word, every diplomatic move, every quote in a Canadian interview is intentional. There's no rogue ambassador like Pete Hoekstra freelancing his own policy. If the Chinese ambassador says something publicly, it's because Beijing wants you to hear it. So when they say, we'll lift canola tariffs if you lift EV tariffs, that's not casual talk, that's a signal. The door is opening. It's not just about agriculture. It's about whether Canada is willing to step out of America's shadow and make a pragmatic trade deal that benefits Canadians first. This didn't come out of nowhere. There have been quiet negotiations happening for months. Back on September the 9th, headlines read, "Easing Chinese EV tariffs is on the table." Federal agriculture officials said after premiers called on Ottawa to lift the duties and save the canola industry. China, for its part, has repeatedly called its tariffs temporary. They've extended their so-called investigation into Canadian canola multiple times, leaving the door slightly open. And in this latest interview, Ambassador Wang made it crystal clear. The one who tied the knot should be the one who unties it. Translation: Canada started this trade standoff, so it's on Canada to fix it. So what should Canada do now? Should Canada drop the 100% tariff on Chinese EVs, reopen the biggest canola market and accept cheaper EVs for Canadian consumers, or play hardball, keep the tariffs and watch Canadian farmers lose out while the auto industry stays protected? There's also a middle ground, of course: reduce the tariffs but negotiate for Chinese EV makers to build plants in Canada that would protect jobs and rebuild trade and create more employment. Pierre Poilievre, for example, says absolutely not. Keep the tariffs on Chinese EVs, make China pay, and somehow still convince them to drop their tariffs. I don't think that will happen in a million years. It's a great soundbite, but not a strategy. Because, like it or not, China has just handed Canada a choice, a diplomatic opening. If they wanted confrontation, they'd announce new tariffs, like Trump does every other week. Instead, they've extended an olive branch, and the timing couldn't be more calculated. Just as the US escalated, just as Ambassador Hoekstra urges Canada to stay aligned with Trump and Washington, Beijing says we're ready to do business only if you are. This is economic diplomacy at its most strategic, and Canada's next move will say a lot about whether Canada can still make independent decisions in its own national interests. So what do you think? Should Canada lift its EV tariffs to reopen trade with China? Should Canada hold the line and side fully with Trump and Washington? Or should Canada take a third path, trade pragmatism over politics? Let's get a discussion going in the comments, because this moment right here could redefine how Canada fits into the global economy. I'll see you in the next one.